Is it working? I know it's working. But I wanted to say hi. Welcome to Groove Diner After Dark, Valentine's Day edition. Valentine's night? Valentine's Day. Hey, I'm wearing red. So first, happy Valentine's Day to everyone, especially the ones of you that are, watching live tonight. I appreciate you spending this evening with us. Happiest of Valentine's Day to my wife, Natalie. I know, of course, that, normally we would be doing things, but she let me have tonight to be here with you guys, and I appreciate that. Happy Valentine's Day, Natalie. 23-20, Super Bowl, Rams. I grew up a Rams fan in Mississippi. How does that work? I'm not sure, but it's true. And of course, the Cincinnati Bengals, Bingles, Bengals, that's how we would say it in the South. Bengals doesn't work even now that I know how to speak more properly. I still can't say Bengals and feel right about it. But anyway, it was really cool. It was really, really awesome to be here in LA and see the hometown team win. That was pretty amazing. But something I've noticed is that there's a lot of commentary on social media about sports balls. And I don't care about the Super Bowl and why do people put all this effort and energy into fandom. It made me think about something. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of excellence at every turn, whether it's football, basketball. I love the Lakers, man. I'm a huge Lakers fan. Baseball, Dodgers. You guys know I'm a Dodgers fan. How could I not be, right? Anybody that achieves a certain level of excellence, I'm going to be on board with that. Of course that extends to music. Of course it does. Excellence matters in everything that we do. Last week I told you we were starting 100 days of fitness and whatnot. Today's day 8, and do you know I haven't missed a workout? I had one cheat meal for the Super Bowl yesterday. One meal, not a day. So I dedicated myself to the excellence of 100 days. My wife has dedicated herself to the excellence of 100 days. And it really matters to me when I start thinking about excellence in general. When you start denigrating people that have made it to the NFL, people that have made it to the NBA, people that are on tour, Snoop Dogg, any of these people who have really achieved an incredible level, all of us know as musicians the amount of work it takes to achieve anything, to be able to play a double stroke roll 10 BPM a little faster. Man, that takes a lot of work. So I always celebrate excellence when I see it, no matter what it might be. I love sports. Half of my living, more than that, is made in sports music. So without sports, my music doesn't reach you guys. Without sports, you don't know anything about me at all. And so why would you be watching this? Well, because of Victor. That'd be a good reason. But the truth is that I really love to see any excellence in anything. And it's always, always driven me. Anytime I see Carl Lewis back when I was a kid running track, come on, how can you talk about that and not just be awed by it? You know what I mean? So instead of us tearing things down when we see sports and don't understand why people are fans, just admire the excellence of it. That's all that really matters. Would I rather that the arts and music got more attention? Of course I would. It's harder, to explain the difference in a score, 23-20, versus somebody that can play a paradiddle a little cleaner or a little faster. It's harder to explain those things. So let's teach people that. Let's have them understand what it is that we do and why it matters. And let's take ownership ourselves of our excellence. The moment we do that, we're going to make a difference in the world around us, in our families, in our friend group. It's going to make a big difference. What's my favorite sport, you ask? Very simple. I'm a motocross fan. That's right. See you in a minute. Groove Diner After Dark. This episode of Groove Diner After Dark is brought to you by Groove Diner After Dark, the store. That's right. Starting with tonight's episode, you can tell the world of your love for Groove Diner After Dark by owning official Groove Diner After Dark merchandise. Coffee mugs, t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, a pint glass, stickers, and much more can be yours today. Simply go to GrooveDinerAfterDark.com or click the link in this video description and get your gear today. Thank you for your support. Hey, what's going on? That was a quick commercial, man. You caught me. That went so fast, it was ridiculous. Oh, man. Tonight's guest, Victor Indrizzo. You're going to hear more of the story here in a few minutes, but some of the things that we didn't get to talk about were the artists that he's played for. Just seriously, Avril Lavigne, Macy Gray, Alanis Morissette, his work with Warren Heward on Produce Like a Pro. It's just ridiculous, the career this guy's had. And I'll tell the story here in a minute in the interview segment where I first became aware of him and how we met. So I think you'll enjoy that. Victor is somebody that he's a very thoughtful guy. So he doesn't like last week. We had Nate, and Nate's a talker. Victor's a much more thoughtful person with his words. And what I mean by that is I really took in everything that he said. Me and Nate had a ball, as you saw. Victor really has some things to say that are kind of heavy in a good way. I think you're going to enjoy this a whole lot. One quick side note, don't forget to subscribe to the channel at YouTube. Dan's going to put that up on the screen right now so that you guys can see where to go. We made our 100 subscribers in 1 week. Thank you so much. So now, I know, right? So now immediately we can start to claim the things we need to, which is going to be awesome. We'll be able to change to youtube.com/Groove Diner After Dark pretty soon. It takes about 30 days. But it's a week-old channel, and we got the 100 subscribers. So thank you all, everybody who subscribed. I'm really looking forward to showing you this interview, and we'll be back to talk about some more things right afterwards. Here we go. Let's roll that thing.
My house today, that was that. I picked you up and I tipped my hat. You roll your eyes at me like I was a fool. You took my ass back to high school. I could swear that this was gonna be over. Another lonely night in my bed. And then your eyes start flashing like a neon sign. Body's moving closer all the time. You're so complicated, I don't know where to stand when I just wanna be your supernatural man. Yeah. We grab a drink and then we slip in a booth. I give you nothing but the whole truth. My soul is bare. You shut me down with a bovine stare. I could swear that this was gonna be over. Another lonely night of my own. And then your eyes start flashing like a neon sign. Your body's moving closer all the time. You're so complicated, I don't know where to stand when I just wanna be your supernatural man. You're supernatural pretty. You're supernatural fly. I'll meet you in the city. I'm gonna be your supernatural guy. You said your granny was a suffragette. You said that what you see is what you get. You said that this would be a smooth kind of sail. You got me tied to the third rail. I could swear that this was getting over. Another lonely night on my own. And then your eyes start flashing like a neon sign. Your body is moving closer all the time. You're so complicated, I don't know where to stand. And I just wanna be your supernatural. Your eyes start flashing like a neon sign. Your body is moving closer all the time. You're so complicated,
Hi, welcome to Groove Diner After Dark. I'm Buddy Gibbons. Tonight I'm here with Victor Indrizzo. I first found out about Victor because my wife and I were invited to a private concert of Alanis Morissette at the 20th Century Fox lot many years ago. And about midway through the set, I was like, who is this guy? I just loved his playing. It was incredible to me. And I ended up stalking him a bit online to find out a little more about him, only to find out that his list of credits is, as long as I am tall. And it was quite eye-opening to see all of the things he had done through the years. Subsequently, a few years later, Kelly King had invited me to a breakfast, drummer's breakfast here in LA, and guess who was seated across the table from me? None other than Victor Indrizzo. As we started talking, it turned out that he was a really great guy, and he has a deep love for baseball, so we were able to talk about baseball, and that sort of struck up a camaraderie that continues to this day. Victor, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate that.
I'm really happy to be here, buddy.
Thanks for coming over to the Groove Diner, making the trip over. Where do you live, actually?
I live like Sherman Oaks,
Okay.
Benedict Canyon area.
So not far from here.
No.
Okay, I didn't think it was all
Close.
that far.
Yeah.
You're from New York.
Yeah. But I moved out here when I was 10, so.
Oh, okay. I was wondering why a New Yorker would choose to make the LA move.
Yeah, I mean, I actually was super excited to come here because as a kid, I would read all the liner notes on records.
Of course.
And there were so many albums that were cut here.
Yeah.
I was super excited to come here. And matter of fact, the very first phone call I ever made was we used to have phone books.
Right.
So I got
remember
out
those.
the yellow pages, and I'm like 10 years old. And I looked up Capitol Records, and I called them and I asked them how much it was to make an album. And the receptionist was a woman. She could tell that I was a kid, and she started chuckling. She's like, "It's a lot of money, honey."
Right.
And then I asked her, I go, "Well, how much to make a 45?" Okay. So yeah, I was pretty excited
That's
to be
awesome.
here.
That might be the best story. We can just stop now. That's the story of the day right there. Holy cow. So were you the typical pots and pans kid?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because also my family didn't have a lot of money, divorced mom,
Right.
single mom, 3 kids in the house, and there was no money for drums. So
Of
it was
course.
a lot of times setting up pillows or
Right.
pots and pans, garbage cans, whatever I could
Right.
get my hands on.
Right. Were you a marching band kind of guy, or?
I took band in junior high,
Yeah.
but by the time high school rolled around, I was into playing with bands.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
That's a really different skill set, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
I'm a marching band geek. That's
Yeah.
that's my whole ball game.
There's really a part of me that kind of wishes I had stuck to that and
Sure,
learned
sure.
a lot more. Because in junior high, the band teacher was amazing, but not really focused on the drums.
Yeah, I know what that's about.
And
Yeah.
so I never really got to learn all the rudiments. It wasn't really till much later in life, and there's still stuff I'm still learning.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's pretty great, though. For me, the band experience is what colored and shaped my entire
Yeah.
professional career, and even the idea that I could have a professional career.
Yeah.
So I kind of went the other way. I didn't come to drum set until much later.
Yeah,
I was in my
I
20s.
love when it can get incorporated
Yeah,
into
sure.
a kit. I mean, that's one of my favorite things about Steve Gadd.
Oh, yeah.
Is kind of the master of like taking rudiments or stuff like that and incorporating into the kit in such a beautiful kind of tasteful way.
Absolutely. I have friends that call me the invisible rock star. I think that applies more to you than to me.
Yeah.
Your list of credits really is incredible. What was the first big thing you did?
The first big thing, I suppose, the first big record might have been like a Willie Nelson record, which
Right.
kind of came through a weird place of doing a record with Scott Weiland from the Stone Temple Pilots.
What?
Yeah, it's so that was kind of like, I had done some records. I had made
Yeah.
a couple indie band records and punk rock records, and I hooked up with Scott Weiland, and I worked on his solo album. And in the end of that, Daniel Lanois, producer,
Right.
amazing producer,
Right.
came in, and then he got me on the Willie Nelson thing. It's a very weird path, and sometimes being at the right place, the right time, and just being
Sure.
open to whatever was showing up.
That's really interesting because I was looking through your credits list, and this is what hit me. I'm going to read it because I have to. Avril Lavigne, Willie Nelson, Depeche Mode, Macy Gray, Shakira, Chris Cornell, Sarah Bareilles. That's just a quick sampling. What's the common thread to playing with that group with a group that's so diverse?
I think, growing up, I loved so many different kinds of music, and I didn't want to be closed off to one kind of thing. And that's an interesting thing in a career, is you really can, when you play on something, maybe they'll think of you as this guy. Oh, you're the rock guy, right? Or you're the funk guy, or you're this guy. Somehow I've been able to evade that, getting labeled too heavily. Though you find if you play on something, you'll get calls for a lot of things that are similar for a minute. But I think it really comes down to, for me, it's like producers, engineers, and assistant engineers. I was very mindful to make friends with the assistant engineers, the runners, because I was like, these are the guys that are in there studying, and they're going to be the next generation.
That's right. People ask me, what my biggest gig or my best gig or whatever ever was. The biggest gig and the best gig don't always in any way relate to each other. Do you have something that was your favorite that maybe was a little off the radar?
Man, there's so many things. I mean, there's an Italian artist that I played with, Elisa, in like 2014 to maybe 2018. Going over there for me was very special because my heritage is Italian. Right. The people were lovely. The band was amazing. And it's just very special. But
that's cool.
It's never lost on me. I mean, and I'd also have to say that playing with Alanis is truly, truly special. And the one thing I have not lost or become jaded is that I realize how lucky I am to do this for a living. Right. Every time. Right. Every show I still get nervous. And even recording or going into a studio, I have such a reverence for the art of music and these places that are like hallowed halls, that every time I get to go into them, I'm very aware of the history in the rooms. And it's always special.
We were just over at East West about a month ago, and every time I walk through the doors at East West, it's like, the clouds part.
Yeah,
and
so many great records, so much great musicians. It's all in the walls. I can feel it.
It really is.
I always want to honor that.
Sure.
And be aware of it.
When it comes to doing the work that you do, because you're primarily these days Alanis's player, right? I mean, you're really working with her more than anybody else. Is that accurate?
For touring, though, I don't really do all that much touring. She'll tour maybe once every 4 years. So it's really primarily recording would be the main thing.
COVID. What about the pivot that was required for COVID? How did that impact you? Let's start with the music side. What was the very first thing as this pandemic began that you said, okay, I've got to figure this out?
I think the interesting thing for me was I had a studio that I shared with a couple of guys.
Beautiful place.
It was an amazing old studio right across the street from East West. Right. And we lost that in the pandemic. And so I had to quickly think, it's like, what do I do? I've got to set up at home. I need to learn how to be an engineer. I need to learn how to set all of this stuff up. And so as I was experimenting with that, we started to do some at-home videos with Alanis, which was the perfect way to kind of test everything out. And then I put the videos together and got to mix the music and learned how to do all of that. So there was a lot of time to study. Right. And I think that's one of the most important things as a musician or in life is like, you always have to be a student. I am 54 years old and I am still a student. There you go. I need to keep learning. I need to keep growing. I need to keep adding to my repertoire of what it is I do. How do I get new sounds? How do I, just keep going? And so, in a way, the pandemic ended up for me being a really amazing time to just stop running around, really focus on picking up some new skills. Yeah. And I think I practiced more than I had ever practiced since I was a kid.
Have you been able to keep that up? I started out the pandemic going, I'm going to be the best drummer I've ever been at the end of it. And by 3 months in, I'm like, oh my God, how have you managed to keep that momentum?
For me, it's always baseball season. So being a big baseball fan, it's the only time I will sit. And as anybody who knows baseball, they're long, slow games, right? So that's my time to get a practice pad and just play. And then in the off season, it's terrible. Then I just start to go back to sucking because I'm not practicing as much. I found myself listening to music again for solace.
Right.
Right. And that's what I got into music for in the first place, was like to get an emotion or be able to express emotion that I couldn't put into words.
Yeah.
And so in doing that again, I rediscovered all this music that I loved and started listening and just like, oh yeah, there it is. Now I feel alive.
Oh, that's cool.
It like pulled me out of my funk.
Yeah.
And now that's really the way I live. Like there's always music on in my house. I'm always looking for stuff. I mean, for me, it's a lot of older music.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, just trying to, I try to keep in touch of like what it feels like to be a kid again, because that's really where I had the fire and the love for music.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I can show up for work and be the best guy. If I'm, jaded or kind of over it, or when it becomes my job, it's like I'm not at my best. But sometimes that's human nature.
Sure.
Everything's a cycle.
Sure.
And so for me now, it's like becoming aware of that when I'm doing that.
Right.
And going, okay, I need to take a break. I need to find a piece of music or a movie even, or a book or something that makes me feel inspired and get back into it.
Sure. I must have read Effortless Mastery 15 times. I don't know if you've ever read that.
Yeah, that's a beautiful.
I just never stopped rereading that book.
That's beautiful.
For that very reason. Well, what's on your playlist right now?
I mean, for me, it's really a lot of, I love Donny Hathaway.
Oh, sure.
I love Marvin Gaye, Ray Charles. There's like soul music from the 70s, Stevie Wonder. For me, that always brings me to a very exciting feeling, or just like, and even a lot of just like hits from the era that I grew up in.
Of course. Because
there was always something, that's a thing I think about a lot in recording, is how powerful music is with the emotion. And how can I relay that when I'm playing? Right. Because there has to be this weird intangible emotion that comes across to make somebody want to listen to a record over and over again. Right?
Absolutely.
How do I get there? How do I get to that place? And the only way for me is to actually feel that. And then hopefully that's coming through the cables and the wires and the bits of code or whatever. It's like, it's one of the most important things is to learn how to feel. Like we can get so caught up in, as a young player, it's like, I have to learn how to play fast. I have to learn how to play fancy. But music should be communication, right? What am I trying to say? Is this song telling me to say something, maybe if it's appropriate, I want to be like this guy. But if the song is sad or the song is expressing emotion, it's like you have to play like that emotion. That's much more important than like, doing a fancy fill. And those were the things I always tried to work on. It's like listening to the song. What is the song telling me to do? And am I listening? Am I listening to you, or am I just having a conversation with myself?
It is interesting to me because one of the things that I've fought is I am a bit of a chopsy guy. And so I had to figure out how to strip that away. And one of the things that I had to learn was that if I go do an audition or something, I tend to throw everything against the wall first, and they go, okay, I want that, and I want that, I want it. And I'll pick and choose the things that I like, but I'll ditch everything else. And sometimes it freaks people out because, oh wait, that's too much. I have found this inner turmoil with that, because I find myself fighting the battle of the song is telling me that it needs this, which is exactly what we're talking about. But sometimes people think when you play for the song, it means play less, play very little. And I fight that battle within my own brain, because I might be hearing the song wanting more. Do you ever deal with that, or is that just me being nutty?
No, I think that can be the case, because, we all want to, put something. The thing I try to do is not think too much.
Sure.
And I've come to rely more on the instinct. And for me, the thing, especially over the past decade, I would say that I've done, is to try and approach the recording process a little different, that everything doesn't have to come from the first kit pass. And that, and I mean, actually, this is the one thing I've probably gotten more from modern music, is the approach of like how things are programmed. So we have a kick and a snare and a hat is your basic thing, and then overdubs. So now when I approach a song, I'm not only thinking about what I'm going to do on the kit, but the kit doesn't have to be the end all be all of the track. I can put some percussion, I can put some shakers, I can put some weird sounds over the top of that to make the chorus more exciting.
Right.
And yeah, it's just like a more layered approach. So it doesn't
really
have to
good.
be all from this one take.
What's your drumming Rushmore? Who are your guys?
Man, there's a lot. Stevie Wonder is one.
I can see that.
I love his approach. It's just very musical and non-traditional.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't need to stick to the hi-hat in the verse. He can go right to the right and then back to the hi-hat.
Right.
Or like it's just for and of the music.
Right.
I love Ringo.
Yeah.
You know, Ringo again too, very musical, and like
Sure.
the ideas are just, for the song.
Sure. There's a band that I've always been curious about that you played with, and I didn't actually realize you played with them until a student of mine told me it was one of their favorite bands, and I actually reached out to you when I found out you were on it. You were, yeah, Infant Sorrow.
It's funny. I get more things about that band.
I bet.
Yeah.
In case you guys don't know, if you've ever seen Get 'Em to the Greek with Russell Brand, the band that he was in is called Infant Sorrow, and they were a real band, at least sort of a real band.
Yeah.
What was that actually? What actually was that?
Well, that was a very cool project because it lasted a year.
Right.
And it was really Mike Viola, Dan Burns, and Lyle Workman, the composer. They wrote all of these songs, and we just recorded songs through the course of a year. These very funny, amazing songs.
Right.
And I would say, if you enjoyed any of those, you should look up Mike Viola and Dan Burns and see their own material. It's really smart, and like they've written songs for a lot of movies, like Walk Hard, and stuff like that. Just really smart lyrics.
Okay. So one of the questions I'm always curious about, growing up, you knew from an early age that you wanted to do this. What was that moment when you went, I can do this?
Moment that I can, for me, I never thought of doing anything else.
Yeah.
We were talking about this a little bit.
Right.
I always felt like I had to do it.
Right.
As young as I can remember, it's what I wanted to do. I just had this focus. And then, bands in high school and out of high school, like one thing would work for a minute, get a record deal, not work, fall apart. And I had a bunch of these things where we were talking about where I just had to keep changing lanes, because I was like, I was in a band and we lost a record deal, like, this can't be it.
Right.
I have to do this. It's so in me to do this that I just kept pivoting. I don't know if I ever thought of a moment where I was like, oh man, this is it. I'm done. Or like, and I still think that way of like, I'm just going along the path. I've never thought like, man, this is, I've had moments where you go, wow, like, you play a big concert or a record does really well. And now some of these records are turning 20 years old.
Sure.
Like, you're like, wow, like, so I have moments that I can look and I'm proud, but I don't know that I've ever just stopped and said, wow, this is, I'm there, or like, I don't know.
When I do clinics or camps, people sometimes will ask, when did you know you made it? Well, the answer that I always give is I'll let you know when I figure that out.
Yeah, because all of it, like, any milestone is cool for about 10 minutes.
That's right. The first time I put my drums under a bus was a big moment.
Right. And I remember like getting a gold record for the first time. That was my dream. Oh man, if I could have a gold record.
Right.
Got the gold record, hung it on the wall, looked at it, and I was like, okay, now what?
Cool.
Like, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
And I think with music, it's an interesting thing because it is a very hard life path or decision to do. But like a lot of things, if it's really in your heart and it's really what you have to do, you just have to go and see where that leads you. It might lead you to starving sometimes, not being able to pay your bills, a lot of stress, but also a lot of joy and a lot of satisfaction if it's what really is in your heart and what you're meant to do.
Did you ever work a day job?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I had many jobs. Like, I got married young, and had a kid. And so I, at first had a record deal, had some money, lost that. I've had money and lost money so many times.
Sure.
Then and having a kid young, it was always, I have to do whatever I have to do to make some money. And so, yeah, sometimes working those jobs made me even all the more hungry to get back to like playing music. Yeah, there've been different periods. It's been a lot. It's been a minute since I've had to work a regular job, but if I had to do it tomorrow, I would. You just, my motto was always say yes. Yeah. I had other friends who were maybe more choosy about the gigs or the things they would do. But being a dad, it was like, nope, I'm going to take whatever job, you know. Am I going to play with a DJ at a wedding? Am I going to do this? Am I going to play on somebody's demo? Like, I'm going to do it all. Because all of those experiences, it's funny, even the ones sometimes taking the worst things, the worst jobs, led to me meeting somebody on that really terrible job who then recommended me for another gig. Like, I just wanted to leave all the doors open.
Yeah, right. I get that. I don't have the career that I have today without having said yes to a Craigslist ad. Yeah. You know, it was a Craigslist gig, that turned into thousands and thousands of songs on TV. Yeah,
that's the way it is, right? Like, don't shut any doors. Right. Because you don't know where that next one opens to.
You don't. What's the worst day job you ever did?
The worst day job? Okay, cleaning computer parts in a guy's garage, and he had to keep the garage door closed, and we wore rubber gloves cleaning these weird little parts in acetone. and my clothes would smell like it. You'd have to change rubber gloves every 10 minutes because the gloves would melt.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awful.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah, skunks. Yeah. I was trapping skunks under houses.
That's pretty bad.
It was pretty bad. I got $5 a skunk. Oh. But it was like, I gotta eat, you know. That was the worst thing ever, man. You're a really positive voice in the world. Every time I see you, anytime I hear you, you are always really super encouraging. One sentence, and I know this is hard, to the high school kids that are thinking about doing this. One sentence.
Play with your heart, and don't do it for the love of money. Do it for the love of music, and see where that takes you.
That's a worthy sentence. I like it. Gear. Let's talk about your gear for a minute. Give your shout outs.
I have a lovely relationship with the people at Gretsch Drums, which has been amazing. I would also have to thank Daniel at Orange County Percussion, because they hooked me up early on and made me some beautiful stuff that I still use. DW has been amazing to me. Zildjian has been amazing. Vader Sticks. I love Bald Man Percussion stuff now I'm using.
Ooh, I don't know that.
Man, they make some really cool, interesting things. Oh, really? A thing called the Junk Hat.
Oh, I saw that.
I really love that. Right. And another thing called the Stank Foot.
What's the Stank Foot?
It's this weird kind of like washboard looking thing, and it has chains, and I've been using that a lot.
I think I'm gonna have to get a Stank Foot.
Yeah, you got to check that out. LP, all their percussion stuff. I really appreciate it. But I would also say, if you're younger and you're trying to find stuff and you're worried about not having the best gear, I always had the worst gear. And it was truly a blessing in disguise, because I had to learn how to figure, I didn't even have money for heads, but I would have to learn how to put things on the heads, or treat them and get different sounds, or make cool sounds with the weird wrinkled head that I got. And it opened up my ears to like getting different sounds. And that has become so useful in what I do.
Well, it's kind of a signature of yours, honestly. Yeah. I mean, I don't really know that I listen to you play and go, that's what anybody else would have played. And I think that's one of the things that's made you such a great hireable professional. You are a chameleon, and so much of the time we're told to be a specialist. Right. But the fact that you've been able to maintain that, I think some of that comes from your willingness to experiment. And I mean, yes, you have your sound, but your sound comes from the fact that it's your hands making the noises.
Yeah.
And I think that's fairly astonishing.
Yeah, I think that thing of always keep growing,
Yeah,
keep
sure.
looking for new things. Everything in the world is a drum.
Isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It is.
And I love making weird shakers or
Yeah.
anything everything's a drum.
I'm a sample fiend.
Yeah.
I tap everything in the world. I have the greatest fruit bowl in the world inside.
It's so
Ding!
fun.
You know,
Yeah.
it's such a perfect fruit bowl. Every time I walk by it, ding.
Yeah.
I just can't not do it. I saw you. I'm a big fan of Produce Like a Pro, and I saw you on a session with Warren Heward. I don't remember the record even at this point. I don't remember what it was. I'm envious that you've worked with him as much as you have.
Yeah.
He seems like a really good guy to be in the presence of.
Yeah, he's a fun guy.
He seems like it.
Yeah, he's fun. I've known Warren for many years.
Have you?
He's a good dude.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. We're down to the final question. I usually, well, okay, not usually. Sometimes I'll give guys a little heads up about this question.
Uh-oh.
I didn't. So, but he might be able to answer it.
Yeah.
Maybe. This is like, we can't be friends if you answer incorrectly.
Okay. We got to choose carefully.
Very carefully.
Okay.
Okay. So what is your favorite Rick Springfield song?
Oh,
And you
man.
can't say Jesse's Girl.
What is my favorite?
There is a wrong answer.
There is a wrong answer. It's Hard to Hold. Wait, what's the...
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Hard to Hold works.
Okay, I'll take Hard to Hold.
Okay, we'll
no,
go
I
with
have
that.
no idea how that song goes right now. It just popped in my head.
Whatever works.
Okay.
You know? Thanks again for being here, man.
Man, thank you for having me.
You got it. Seriously, it's there's only one Rick Springfield song that is the correct answer, and I'm never going to tell you what it is. You always have to guess what it is because you're probably right, or maybe you're not. I don't know. What a great time we had. Obviously, like I said, he's such a thoughtful guy, and I love the way he answered things. Dan commented over there that everything in the world is a drum. That is the absolute truth, man. I mean, all of us percussion types, we're walking around bang, 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 bang. I'm actually going to do a literal Groove Diner episode on found sounds. I think that we need to do that. Put that in the notes over there, Eli. We need to do that and do a found sounds episode. You won't believe the things that are in my backyard, in your backyard, in your tool shed that you can make into a freaking percussion instrument. It's just amazing. I don't know if you guys noticed that killer groovy video at the top. Did you see the drum set he was playing? It was a toy drum set, a child's toy that he was making sound like that. This guy, he's got the touch. It's absolutely a beautiful thing to listen to him. And it just amazes me that he could take that little toy thing and just make it sound so killer. Unreal. Don't forget about your questions. We're going to come to your questions here in a few minutes, so be sure that you have them ready to go. Put them in the comments and we'll get to them. I want to remind you guys that in a couple of weeks we're going to do an It's Your Show. So send your emails to groovedinerafterdark@gmail.com. groovedinerafterdark@gmail.com. Send anything you want to know, anything you want to talk about to that email address, and we'll try to get to them. We're already getting quite a few, so thank you very much for everybody there. We're really pleased to have people like Victor on the show this year. It's just been an amazing response. I thank you everybody that's on Twitch and on YouTube and now here on Facebook Live. It's so great to have this crowd. I'm seeing Charles is here. Thanks for joining us from South Africa as per always. Our Australian contingent, I don't know if any of them are here yet or not. They always tend to get here a little bit later. But it's always great to see you guys around. Thank you so much for stopping by. So if you think about it, if you remember, early on this season, I said we're going to bring out some new segments and bring back some old ones that you might have liked from the past. Well, tonight, we're going to bring back an old one. Late night learning, 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 late night learning. That's right. Late Night Learning is back. This is what started this whole crazy Groove Diner After Dark thing. 2 years ago, in the midst of the pandemic, I started doing these ridiculous videos by myself in here at 11 o'clock at night on Mondays with just my phone camera and playing things and showing things that I was awful at, things that I just wasn't any good at. And it really built quite a response. So we thought we'd bring it back this season. So we're going to have quite a few of these as we go through the entire season. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tonight, we're going to start with something that I'm asked all the time, bass drum technique. I have a very fast right foot. I've almost never used a double pedal because I almost don't need to, because my right foot is fast. Now, part of that's probably because I've broken my right ankle 3 times, and I just attribute it to what was that movie? There was the one movie, was it Angels in the Outfit? No, it wasn't that. It was some movie from the 80s or 90s where a kid had broken his arm and he had a tight tendon, and he was like 12 years old throwing 105 miles an hour. I kind of feel like that with my foot. I didn't have this foot until I broke it so many times. But one of the things I'm asked is about my technique. So we thought we'd show you guys a little bit about that tonight. There are 2 things I wanted to focus on with regard to right foot technique that I think will really help you, okay? So we've got a camera down here by my foot tonight. Let's go ahead and switch over to that. Yeah, there we go. Ah, look at that. It's working, and you can hear it too, right? So with the foot, and that's right, I'm wearing Adidas socks and Nike shoes. Get over it. One of the things I want to do is show you guys that one of the early mistakes that you make as a drummer is burying the beater in the bass drum head. It's typically not the cleanest, best sound to do that. It's a different specific technique. So instead of burying, let the beater bounce back. You see the difference in versus by letting it bounce back, the beater is already ready for the second note. You don't have to release and then play. I hope you guys can hear me talking over this. You release and then play, and that slows things down. Whereas if you let it hit the bass drum, see how it's just coming right off the head? It's coming right back at me. Immediately I'm ready to play the next note. See? Now it does take a little bit of time to learn to control that, and that's why so often that's what happens. This is not right or wrong, mind you. This is a specific technique. Listen to the difference in the sound of the drum from this to this. Can you hear the difference in that? Hopefully you've got good headphones on. It's absolutely just a ridiculous difference sonically, especially when you're in the studio and playing these different things. It makes a gigantic difference for you guys to be able to for your producers or engineers. They'll look at your foot, and very often what happens when you bury the beater is this. Suddenly, the foot will buzz. I hope I can do it. Can't quite do it. A lot of times the foot will buzz, and you can really hear that in a Pro Tools session. Bam, bam, bam. You're trying to get this clean bam, bam, bam thing, and what you're actually getting is bzz, 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 and it creates, first of all, the attack is not there, not clean, and the tone of the drum doesn't come through as well either. So if you're going to play beater buried, you have to be very, very, very intentional about it and make sure it makes solid contact and hold it there. You cannot let it bounce. That is super difficult to do early on. So let's learn both techniques. One is the bury. The second one is the release. It's just like having a drumstick in your hand where you learn to hit a rim shot or hit a solid note that sticks to the head, but you also learn to release from this to this. Also, notice where my foot is. I'm not too far back. I'm not way back here because I can't get any control back here. I'm also not way up here because I don't get any power. I'm kind of right in the middle. In fact, there's a DW logo on this bass drum pedal, and my foot, the ball of my foot, is slightly below that DW logo. That's the sweet spot on the pedal. It's kind of a balance point. And yes, I'm a wiggler with my foot, so that's how I get multiple strokes. And we can talk about that in a lesson another time. But tonight I just wanted to talk to you guys about the difference in the burying versus letting it go. Try that in your next practice session. Just spend a little time doing that and see if you can release the beater and watch what happens. Your balance is going to be a little affected. You're going to have to figure it out. You're going to be like, wait, no, this feels weird. That's right, it feels weird because it's new. Once you get it, it doesn't feel weird anymore, right? Everything is hard until it's not. That's what I've heard anyway. And that is late night learning for tonight. So now let's take a look at the comments that we're talking about here. Let's see where we are. All right, let me grab some of these things here. Hey guys, Brent, thanks for joining us tonight, man. Or Brian, I'm sorry, I misread your name. Brian, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been really great having you here. You're holding your tongue though. Funny. Neil Peart stuff next time. Is that okay? Maybe we can make that happen. Charles, thanks again for everything you said. Charles been a great follower for so long with the Groove Diner After Dark, and he's always here. And it's early morning where you are, right? I certainly appreciate you being here. Keith Tannenbaum, I have to know what your favorite Rick Springfield song is, but we're gonna come to that at some point, without a doubt. Make no mistake. Toby, always great to have you with us tonight. Renee, hey man, nice to see you. I'm glad you're here. Renee Beavers is out on tour with Coco Montoya, so if you get a chance to go see Renee, you should definitely do that. Talk about lessons in groove. Well, there they are. Renee's such a great guy and such a great drummer. Renee's a friend too. So who am I kidding? I love the guy. He's just one of those people that you meet him and you just want to take him home and fix him lunch and say thanks. You know, that's exactly what my wife said, by the way. It's true. Marching band was a big deal for me, for sure, Brian. I was that kid, man. I think I probably would have flunked out of school, college, all of it, had it not been for marching band. And for me, I would say a mediocre high school marching band drummer, and it wasn't until a little later that I kind of figured it all out. But without the fundamentals and the sense of belonging in that, I don't think I'd be sitting here today, that's for sure. So marching band just absolutely is near and dear to my heart, let me tell you. I really liked some of what Victor had to say about gear. I think certainly we get hung up on that. I mean, if you look around my room, if you could see the room I'm sitting in, I'm surrounded by just such unbelievable high-end gear, Paiste cymbals and DW drums and Sennheiser mics and everything that I touch is just so perfect now. But I think we get hung up on that. And one of the things that he was talking about is finding things that are a signature. He made a comment that the first passive drum set doesn't have to be what all the drums are. You can layer things. That was a big lesson for me, a big takeaway for me out of that conversation that he and I have. And of course, every one of these interviews, there's an hour's worth of conversation that you guys don't hear, you know, just us talking off camera. But we talked a lot about things that surprise us musically and sounds that surprise us. I've got a collection, really I've kind of whittled it down now, but I used to have a collection of saw blades. In fact, there's one sitting over there, just a 7-inch skill saw blade. And it's the greatest sounding bell that I've ever owned, I think. That's the sort of things that honestly I'd kind of forgotten about through the years. That and his advice to the kids: play for the love of music, not for the love of money. And when it becomes your job, like it's been my job now for almost 20 years, it's really a different thing to try to make it something that you deeply enjoy and something that still moves your heart and soul. It's really, really difficult. But he's never lost that, and I've found a great deal of inspiration in that, and I hope you did too. So with that, thank you everybody. Please don't forget to subscribe. We did get that 100 subscribers, so we will be putting everything up on YouTube after each week. We'll put them up there. Last week we had 150 live viewers, which was fantastic. We will never know. You see that little number up there at the top? It's never right. We always wonder what it actually means. So it's always fun to go and see how many people actually joined us. So I'm hopeful that we'll have a whole lot tonight as well. And we always end up with more than 1,000 views of each episode. So I'm so thankful that everybody sticks around and watches all of these crazy things that we're talking about. Next week, Randy Cook. Wow, oh wow. Talk about a bundle of energy. Here we go again. Randy and I had a ball on our conversation, and you're going to absolutely love his energy and his vibe and his drumming. If you're not familiar with him, Google him. It's Cook with an E on the end. It will blow your mind. He's another one of those guys who has played on so many things that's frightening. And you're going to enjoy this one, I promise you. Randy Cook next week. But until then, happy Valentine's Day. See you next week on Groove Diner After Dark.